Which of the following statements about soluble versus insoluble fiber is correct? A. Soluble fiber forms gels and can lower cholesterol. Insoluble fiber adds bulk and speeds transit. B. Insoluble fiber lowers cholesterol by forming gels. C. Soluble fiber does not dissolve in water. D. Only insoluble fiber is fermented by colonic bacteria according to older definitions. The correct answer is, soluble fiber forms gels and can lower cholesterol. Insoluble fiber adds bulk and speeds transit. Soluble viscous fibers oats, pectin slow absorption and bind bile acids. Insoluble fibers wheat bran, cellulose increase stool bulk and promote laxation. Which is the recommended intervention for a client with iron deficiency anemia to improve absorption from a supplement? A. Take iron with a vitamin C source and apart from calcium, coffee, and tea. B. Take iron with milk. C. Take iron with an antacid when the condition is first identified. D. Take iron with tea. The correct answer is, take iron with a vitamin C source and apart from calcium, coffee, and tea. Iron absorption improves with vitamin C and on an empty stomach, and is reduced by calcium, antacids, coffee, and tea. Alternate day dosing may improve tolerance and absorption. Which is the recommended fluid and electrolyte strategy for an athlete exercising in the heat for prolonged periods? A. Replace fluids and sodium losses with appropriate sports beverages during long sessions. B. Drink only when severely thirsty. C. Avoid all sodium. D. Restrict fluids to prevent bloating when the condition is first identified. The correct answer is, replace fluids and sodium losses with appropriate sports beverages during long sessions. Prolonged exercise in heat causes fluid and sodium losses. Individualized hydration and electrolyte replacement prevent dehydration and hyponatremia. Which of the following statements about the difference between validity and reliability of a dietary assessment tool is correct? A. Validity is whether it measures true intake. Reliability is whether it gives consistent results on repetition. B. They are the same concept. C. Reliability is whether it measures true intake according to older definitions. D. A tool cannot be reliable without being valid. The correct answer is, validity is whether it measures true intake. Reliability is whether it gives consistent results on repetition. A tool can be reliable consistent yet invalid consistently wrong. Validity concerns accuracy against a true reference. Reliability concerns reproducibility. A Gantt chart is primarily used to A. Schedule and track tasks and timelines in a project. B. Identify root causes. C. Analyze financial ratios for the general population. D. Chart process variation. The correct answer is, schedule and track tasks and timelines in a project. A Gantt chart displays project tasks against a timeline, showing start-finish dates and progress, aiding project management. Strategic planning is typically concerned with which time horizon? A. Long-term 3 to 5 years or more. B. Daily operations in most cases. C. 1 week. D. 1 shift. The correct answer is, long-term 3 to 5 years or more. Strategic planning sets long-range direction and goals, often 3-5 years. Operational planning addresses short-term, day-to-day activities. Which is a proper practice for handling ice used in beverages? A. Use a designated ice scoop stored outside the ice. B. Scoop ice with a glass. C. Use bare hands. D. Store the scoop in the ice with the handle buried. The correct answer is, use a designated ice scoop stored outside the ice. Ice is a food. It is handled with a clean designated scoop, never a glass or hand stored outside the ice bin with the handle up to prevent contamination. Which is a symptom of exercise-associated hyponatremia caused by drinking excessive plain water during endurance events? A. Nausea, confusion, and in severe cases seizures. B. Dehydration with concentrated urine. C. Hyperglycemia. D. Constipation. The correct answer is nausea, confusion, and in severe cases seizures. Overconsumption of hypotonic fluids without sodium during endurance events can dilute serum sodium, causing nausea, headache, confusion, and potentially seizures or death. For a patient at high risk of aspiration, which feeding tube placement is generally preferred? A. Post-pyloric jejunal placement. B. Gastric placement with bolus feeds. C. Oral feeding of thin liquids. D. Large volume gastric bolus feeds. The correct answer is post-pyloric jejunal placement. Post-pyloric feeding may reduce aspiration risk in selected high-risk patients by delivering formula beyond the stomach. Head of bed elevation is also key. Which motivational theory proposes that employees compare their input-output ratio to that of others? A. Equity theory. B. Expectancy theory. C. Reinforcement theory. D. Goal-setting theory. The correct answer is equity theory. Equity theory Adams holds that workers assess fairness by comparing their effort-reward ratio with peers. Perceived inequity affects motivation. Which soluble fiber supplement is specifically recognized for a cholesterol-lowering health claim? A. Psyllium. B. Cellulose. C. Wheat bran. D. Lignin. The correct answer is psyllium. Psyllium, a viscous soluble fiber, binds bile acids and can lower LDL cholesterol. It carries an FDA-authorized heart health claim. Which is the appropriate diet for a patient immediately following an acute gout flare related to purine intake? A. Reduce purine-rich foods and alcohol while maintaining hydration. B. Increase organ meat consumption based on the usual reference ranges. C. Eliminate all fluids. D. Begin a very high-protein diet. The correct answer is reduce purine-rich foods and alcohol while maintaining hydration. Limiting high purine foods and alcohol, especially beer, reducing fructose, and staying hydrated helps lower uric acid. Weight loss and low-fat dairy are beneficial. Which piece of equipment is used to hold cold foods at safe temperatures on a service line? A. A refrigerated cold well or cold pan. B. A steam table. C. A convection oven in typical situations. D. A proofer. The correct answer is a refrigerated cold well or cold pan. Cold wells and refrigerated pans keep cold TCS foods at 41 degrees F or below on service lines. Steam tables and warmers hold hot foods. Gluconeogenesis from lactate, glycerol, and glucogenic amino acids occurs predominantly in the A. Liver. B. Skeletal muscle. C. Adipose tissue. D. Red blood cells. The correct answer is liver. The liver, and to a lesser extent the renal cortex, carries out gluconeogenesis. Muscle lacks glucose 6-phosphatase and cannot release free glucose. Which is the recommended approach for a client seeking to improve gut health through diet? A. Increase fiber diversity, include fermented foods, and limit ultra-processed foods. B. Eliminate all fiber. C. Rely solely on probiotic pills according to older definitions. D. Increase ultra-processed foods. The correct answer is increase fiber diversity, include fermented foods, and limit ultra-processed foods. Gut health is supported by a diverse high-fiber diet feeding the microbiota, including fermented foods and limiting ultra-processed foods. Probiotic fibers are especially beneficial. Which vitamin is required for the gamma-carboxylation of glutamate residues on clotting factors Roman 2, Roman 7, Roman 9, and X? A. Vitamin K. B. Vitamin C. C. Vitamin B6. D. Vitamin B12. The correct answer is vitamin K. Vitamin K is a cofactor for gamma-glutamyl carboxylase, enabling calcium binding by clotting factors and protein C and S. Which of the following describes the primary role of the microbiome in producing vitamins? A. Colonic bacteria synthesize some vitamin K and certain B vitamins. B. Bacteria synthesize all of the body's vitamin C under typical conditions. C. Gut bacteria produce vitamin A. D. The microbiome cannot make any vitamins. The correct answer is, colonic bacteria synthesize some vitamin K and certain B vitamins. Gut microbes contribute some vitamin K and B vitamins, for example biotin, folate, though the amount and absorption vary and dietary sources remain important. Which of the following statements about conditionally essential amino acids is correct? A. They become essential when synthesis cannot meet needs, such as during illness or in premature infants. B. They are never required in the diet. C. They are the same as branched-chain amino acids when the condition is first identified. D. They are only needed by adults. The correct answer is, they become essential when synthesis cannot meet needs, such as during illness or in premature infants. Amino acids like glutamine, arginine, and cysteine are normally synthesized, but become essential under metabolic stress, immaturity, or specific disease states. Which of the following best explains why alcohol provides empty calories? A. It yields 7 kcal per gram, but provides essentially no essential nutrients. B. It provides more vitamins than most foods as described in earlier work. C. It has no caloric value. D. It is stored as glycogen. The correct answer is, it yields 7 kcal per gram, but provides essentially no essential nutrients. Alcohol supplies 7 kcal, but negligible vitamins, minerals, or protein, and can displace nutritious foods and impair nutrient use. Which of the following is the correct interpretation of a food's protein digestibility corrected amino acid score PDCAS? A. It rates protein quality based on amino acid content and digestibility, with a maximum of 1.0. B. It measures only the total grams of protein when the condition is first identified. C. It ignores digestibility. D. It is expressed in kilocalories. The correct answer is, it rates protein quality based on amino acid content and digestibility, with a maximum of 1.0. PDCAS compares a protein's limiting amino acid to requirements and adjusts for digestibility. Scores are capped at 1.0, for example egg, milk, soy. An intake above the tolerable upper intake level all indicates A. An increased risk of adverse effects as intake rises. B. A guaranteed toxic reaction. C. The minimum required to prevent deficiency. D. The average requirement of the population. The correct answer is, an increased risk of adverse effects as intake rises. The OL is the highest chronic intake likely to pose no risk. Above it, the potential for adverse effects increases, but harm is not certain at any single intake. Which is the recommended management for a patient with celiac disease who continues to have symptoms despite a gluten-free diet? A. Assess for inadvertent gluten exposure and other conditions, such as lactose intolerance. B. Add gluten back to the diet. C. Stop all nutrition. D. Assume the diagnosis was wrong immediately according to older definitions. The correct answer is, assess for inadvertent gluten exposure and other conditions such as lactose intolerance. Persistent symptoms warrant checking for hidden gluten cross-contact, dietary adherence, and coexisting conditions lactose intolerance, SIBO, microscopic colitis before other steps. Which is the recommended nutrition management for a patient with early dumping syndrome experiencing dizziness and cramping after meals? A. Lie down after eating, avoid concentrated sweets, and separate fluids from solids. B. Eat large sugary meals. C. Drink juice rapidly with meals. D. Stand and exercise immediately after eating according to older definitions. The correct answer is, lie down after eating, avoid concentrated sweets, and separate fluids from solids. Early dumping from rapid gastric emptying is managed by small frequent low simple sugar meals, separating liquids from solids, adding soluble fiber and protein, and reclining after meals. Which is a safety concern with high-dose vitamin A supplementation? A. Hepatotoxicity and, in pregnancy, teratogenicity. B. Improved night vision with no risk in most cases. C. Kidney stones only. D. Hypoglycemia. The correct answer is hepatotoxicity and, in pregnancy, teratogenicity. Excess performed vitamin A retinol is toxic to the liver and teratogenic. Pregnant women should avoid high-dose retinol supplements and liver in excess. Which is the appropriate management for a patient with diabetes experiencing the dawn phenomenon? A. Adjust evening medication insulin and consider the timing of the evening snack. B. Eat a large bedtime dessert. C. Skip breakfast. D. Take extra rapid insulin at bedtime routinely based on the usual reference ranges. The correct answer is adjust evening medication insulin and consider the timing of the evening snack. The dawn phenomenon morning hyperglycemia from overnight hormones is managed by adjusting basal insulin medication timing and evaluating the evening snack, not by adding bedtime sugar. Cold TCS food received from a supplier should be at what temperature or below? A. 41 degrees F. B. 50 degrees F. C. 60 degrees F. D. 70 degrees F. The correct answer is 41 degrees F. Cold TCS foods should be received at 41 degrees F or below. Frozen foods frozen solid. Temperatures are verified at delivery and deliveries rejected if unsafe. Which enteral formula characteristic is most appropriate for a patient with compromised digestive and absorptive capacity? A. An elemental or semi-elemental hydrolyzed formula. B. A high-fiber polymeric formula. C. A blenderized whole food formula. D. A standard intact protein formula in most cases. The correct answer is an elemental or semi-elemental hydrolyzed formula. Elemental semi-elemental formulas contain predigested nutrients-free amino acids or peptides, minimal fat as MCT for patients with impaired digestion or absorption. Which is the appropriate energy consideration for a child with Down syndrome? A. Energy needs may be lower for height, warranting attention to prevent excess weight gain. B. Energy needs are always very high when the condition is first identified. C. No monitoring is needed. D. Protein must be eliminated. The correct answer is energy needs may be lower for height, warranting attention to prevent excess weight gain. Children with Down syndrome may have lower energy needs relative to height and increased obesity risk. Growth is tracked on condition-specific and standard charts with attention to nutrient adequacy. Missy and place refers to A. Having ingredients and equipment prepared and organized before cooking. B. Cleaning at the end of the shift according to older definitions. C. Marketing the menu. D. Ordering inventory. The correct answer is having ingredients and equipment prepared and organized before cooking. Missy and place everything in its place is the preparation and organization of ingredients, tools, and workstations before service to ensure efficiency. Which coenzyme derived from thiamine is required by the pyruvate dehydrogenase complex to convert pyruvate to acetyl-CoA? A. Thiamine pyrophosphate. B. Flavin adenine dinucleotide. C. Pyridoxal 5-phosphate. D. Tetrahydrofolate. The correct answer is thiamine pyrophosphate. Thiamine pyrophosphate TPP is the active coenzyme form of vitamin B1 and is required by pyruvate dehydrogenase, alpha-ketoglutarate dehydrogenase, and transcatolase. How many did you get right? Let us know in the comments, and tell us what topics you want us to cover next. Want to practice more? Download the app and get hundreds of free practice questions with detailed explanations.